$300 a day drug habit.
God.
That was the start of my homelessness because now I'm unemployed, very high functioning drug addict alcoholic. I haven't gone here in a long time.
I know. How old are you at the time?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I mean, I was wasted. I was that crazy guy that everybody's so scared of.
Yep.
I mean, LAPD called me Lizard Man. We opened up a can of worms here. Almost overnight, went from 20,000 subscribers and continued to growing to over 1 million today because of that.
Mm-hmm. You get this issue in front of a lot of people's eyes that maybe haven't thought about it in certain ways before.
Yeah. There's 2 regrets that I have when it comes to YouTube. The biggest impact that you are going to have is I wanted to be the one person who never had a podcast, but that's obviously changing right now. We went to the National Alliance to End Homelessness Conference in San Francisco to interview change makers about preventing and solving homelessness. This is an important series. You're going to love it. And we started it off. Alex is the creative senior producer behind much of the content you see here on Invisible People. She interviewed me about some of the background of what we do in my life. And here's the very first episode of the Invisible People podcast.
Mark.
Yes.
This is your podcast.
Yes. What's kind of our podcast?
I don't think so.
No, it's our podcast.
Well, I'm kind of playing host today on this episode.
Doing a marvelous job.
Because I think it's really important that we share your story a bit for context for people who may be new listeners or new watchers, new subscribers, and even just, I think it's maybe been a while since you've done kind of an update and like we're just going to go for the story here.
And whose idea was this?
Mine.
Right. So whose podcast is this?
Ours. Yeah, I'm excited. Honestly, I've been working with you since 2019, and I've heard a lot of stories from you over the years of your different experiences, how they relate to, what we're seeing on the street when we're out and about shooting our documentaries together. But I want to give you an opportunity to share why you do this. And I think maybe that's a place to start.
Do you want the long version or the short version?
I think
because it's a really long
medium.
story.
It's a long story.
Well, what comes to mind, I have to bring up Liz Strauss.
Okay.
And Liz Strauss was a force of nature. She has passed on. I was traveling through Chicago, probably on first road trip. I've traveled around the country several times. Everybody was tweeting to me back when Twitter was Twitter. And
what year is this actually?
Oh, gosh. You had to me put a number on it. 2009, maybe 2010.
Okay, somewhere in that realm.
Yeah,
Got it?
Yeah, because Invisible People started November 2008.
Okay.
I called Liz, and she says, I'm coming to your hotel. I'll meet you in the lobby. I'm like, I don't know who this woman is, right? She was getting out of me things I didn't know were there.
Yeah.
And she asked me the question, why do you do this?
Okay.
And she's digging and digging and digging, and it finally came out that I'm scared of being homeless again. Mm-hmm. Deep down, I'm trying to solve homelessness.
So that if it happens to you again, it won't happen to you again.
Because I'm 62 years old, lost everything in the 2008 crash. There's some truth to what Liz brought out of me at that time.
Yeah.
But also, if not you, who? Because here I am, this guy who, worked in broadcast, played music. Drummer, lots of different experiences, cook, drug dealer, drug user. And here I am, I end up homeless. And then I go into the faith path of my life, which I often refer to as the dark side. And
the dark years.
Yeah. And then, I started this thing, Invisible People, not because I wanted to change the world. I needed purpose. In November 2008, I was crashing back into homelessness again. It was a really dark time. To be honest, I didn't think anybody would watch it because you know what an Avid is, right?
Yeah.
Okay, good. Most people don't anymore, right? It's Premiere, Final Cut Pro.
Oh, yeah.
So back dinosaur days, everything was Avid.
Of
so I had
course.
an Avid workstation, but I lost it when I lost my house to foreclosure. So I had this dinky laptop that only had a 5,400 RPM drive.
Right.
So I can't edit video.
Not gonna do the trick.
Right. And so I have the idea to do this. And I'm looking at it, I go, gosh, it has to have music, it has to be a B-roll, I want to win an Emmy. I almost didn't do it. And one day, nobody's going to watch this shit. And I just went out and started recording people raw and then edited.
Yeah.
And that was the magic. So I think, to answer your question, a lot of it has to do with, if not you, who? Because I have some understanding of communication, some understanding of marketing, some understanding of homelessness, a whole lot of tenacity, a big mouth. I'm thinking about audience more than I am Mark Horvath and how I see things.
Artistic vision.
Right.
Absolutely.
Well, I don't want to market to myself.
Yeah, you're always thinking about the audience. Who's going to watch this? How do we help them care about this issue? That is your number one goal always. Right. And then number two is you understand the platforms. To reach people, we need to do certain things. And it's kind of an unheard of combination of skills that you have in terms of running a nonprofit and understanding the complexities of these platforms in a way that makes you very successful.
Well, very successful is also relative and subjective. Right?
You're right. You get this issue in front of a lot of people's eyes that maybe haven't thought about it in certain ways before.
There's two regrets that I have when it comes to YouTube.
Okay.
Back in 2010, they gave us their homepage for a day. It was YouTube's 5th birthday.
Okay.
Their 5th anniversary.
All right.
And they wanted to do, a video to highlight, people on YouTube that were unique and doing cool stuff. So it was already scheduled. And I had CNN at the time on Sunset Boulevard had TVs outside. And there's always homeless people watching. And so I scheduled the YouTube crew, whoever they hired, to meet me there. And there were some homeless people I knew, because I try to include homeless people in everything we do. And I get a text from the producer saying, I'm sorry, we're off to Japan. So I've been doing production for many, many years. I want to know, am I preempted?
Yeah,
right?
yeah.
Like, is this postponed or canceled?
Yeah.
So I kept on texting to it. And he goes, we're not going to do you now. We found Jinji, a guy that makes musical instruments out of vegetables.
Okay.
Swear to God.
Bumped, canceled. Okay.
Right.
All right.
For broccoli that you can do symphony with, right?
Sure.
It hurt, right? Like you're going to get this
big feature.
And you're all excited and you got homeless people lined up. And I think the people at YouTube felt bad. So around 6 months later, they contacted me and said, hey, would you like our homepage for a day?
Sounds solid.
Yeah.
Sure.
That's not even possible anymore. Right?
Yeah.
And I had them pick out the videos. Don't market to yourself.
Okay.
My regret there is I never took YouTube serious. I mean, here, 24 hours featured Invisible People, millions of views, people that have never rolled down their window at an exit ramp to talk to a homeless person.
Right.
And we jumped up to 20,000 subs, which YouTube staff would tell me that's really good for a nonprofit, really good. So my regret is I never leveraged that because that is 12 years ago. And if I had started some of those best practices, we'd probably have 10 million subscribers now.
Yeah.
It'd be much bigger.
Hard to say. Never know.
But yeah, I just was like, oh, this is cool, thanks, and moved on.
But I mean, you were uploading on there, yeah?
Oh, yeah, so that is my second regret. If you go back to our first website, there was a flash element that had people's first names, and it would spin around in a ball. Okay. So all my titles were first names. Mark, Jamie, Tiny, Sue. It was just first names for all the titles because it would spin around in this ball and it was really cool. And you click on that name and it would go to the video like a random. And so all of our videos were just the first name. I typed homeless into YouTube and none of our videos came up. And I have like 800 videos, right? Yeah. What's wrong? Right? Something's wrong here. And then also somebody at YouTube had told me, are you captioning your videos? For search. So now I realize I've got to go title 800 videos. Right?
From first name to keyword.
Right. Homeless veteran and whatever.
Yeah.
And also caption them.
Yeah.
Like pay $1 a minute to caption them.
Yeah.
And that was, we almost overnight went from 20,000 subscribers and continued to growing to over 1 million today because of that. And from a nonprofit's perspective, it also helped us for the first time because for 10 years I did this without health care or any compensation. Our first month was $12,000 in donations. So there's a direct connection between YouTube growth and
donations online and everything.
Donations online.
Yeah.
So those are my two regrets.
I want to go back.
Yeah.
I think you told a brief story of your history. I want you to dive a little bit deeper into your experience of homelessness. When was that? How long were you homeless for? Like, you have a very unique perspective and expertise, not only in broadcast and media and publishing and all these things, but you have lived experience.
I was a very high functioning drug addict. No one wants to see tents near their house. I don't want to see tents on sidewalks or under bridges. I'm sure you're the same. You don't want to see homeless encampments. Criminalization of homelessness just makes homelessness grow. If you don't want to see encampments, you need to support evidence-based solutions like housing with support services. Criminalization makes encampments grow. Invisible People is a nonprofit media publisher working to change the story of homelessness to influence policy change. We do videos and journalism and advocacy to help fight criminalization and to help fix the affordable housing crisis. But we can't do it without you. We need your support. Please consider giving a gift of any size, or if you can, please become a monthly donor. Invisible People is not me, it's we. You are the most important part of Invisible People. And together, we can make a difference. I was a very high functioning drug addict alcoholic. So I was director of distribution services for Starcom Television. Basically, I ran 75% of the 10th largest broadcast network. So if you watched Wheel of Fortune, Jeopardy, Married with Children, 21 Jump Street, the old one, not this silly, St. Elsewhere, all these syndicated shows, I was directly responsible, or one of the people directly responsible, to get it to your TV set.
Yeah, sure.
I haven't gone here in a long time.
I know.
I haven't. How I would tell it to people is the manufacturing end of television. I never met Vanna White. Right? But my drivers would pick up the tape from CBS and then bring it to us, and then we would dupe it, insert commercials, and either put it out, distribution through satellites or through dubbing tapes.
Sure.
Back then they were 1 inch and 3/4.
All right.
I mean, literally, I'm aging myself here. Tapes were 2 inches. We called them quads.
Okay.
So
The lingo.
And I managed the mass duplication laboratory, like how to play the piano overnight VHS. And then fulfillment, I had 50 direct reports. Like there was mass dupe lab, and then people would put on the labels and the stickers and box them up and ship them to clients.
Yeah.
And I did that for 4 years. Fleet of drivers.
How old are you at the time?
Oh gosh, I don't remember. I mean, I was wasted. We had 3 vault expediters and a vault librarian. And film and element vaults are really big, right? You got to store films, elements, right? I mean, it brings in money too. You charge for that space. I found cocaine on 13 shelves. So I brought them all into my office. I bitched at them for not inviting me. Number one, you guys are snorting and you didn't let me know. And number two, not cleaning up their tracks.
Sure.
So that's the kind of boss I was.
I mean, is that like the environment at the time? Like, it's just like...
Yeah, it was kind of the environment at the time. But also, here's the thing about Hollywood is I really believe that they saw me burning out, but they knew that once I was gone, they can replace me with somebody $30,000, $40,000 a year less. Right? Because there's so many people coming into Hollywood.
Yeah.
That, anyways, I did this. It was a fulfillment with the VHS and a comic book. And it was a major, major project. And I did all the planning and the fulfillment, and I'd stayed up for 8 days on methamphetamine, which is literally impossible.
Yeah.
It is. So what happens is, like, you'll be sitting on the toilet and, like, wake up a couple hours later because your body has to shut down.
Sure.
And you're like, whoa, right? But I remember I did this whole. That's how of a high functioning drug addict I was.
Yeah.
When I was let go or resigned, that was the start of my homelessness, because now I'm unemployed. I have a $300 a day drug habit.
God.
So I started hanging out because I gotta feed the monster, the drugs, right? So I started hanging out with some really bad people, like one of the top car thieves in Los Angeles.
Oh my gosh.
And what we would do, because at the time I was the executive, so these guys are bikers and criminals. Not that executives aren't criminals, but I was their connection to the bank, if you would. And their big thing was getting gasoline. And, when you go to a restaurant, you give your credit card away, and we would buy credit card numbers, and then we would put them on cards and be able to steal gasoline.
Gotcha.
So I was like the business mind of that, right? And I got drugs for it, and I got money and everything else. And I ended up, just sleep deprivation. I walked the San Fernando Valley thinking I was Jesus Christ. And I called home for 2 Bible references. So even Jesus had disciples, right? He had help, right?
Sure.
The funny part of this, right? And I'm not making any of this up, right? I'm surprised I remember some of this. I'm thinking I'm Jesus, okay? And there was a blind guy on a bus bench. And so I went and gave him my sunglasses to heal him. Right? And I was like, heal my son. And he was humoring me, of course, right?
Sure.
Who's this crazy guy thinking he's Jesus, making me wear his sunglasses?
Right.
And if you think about it, I was that guy. I was that crazy guy that everybody's so scared of.
Yep.
And if you could just help your homeless neighbor,
That's exactly what
You
that
know,
story makes me think
right.
too. It's like the way people talk about people on the streets. That you were the prime example.
Yeah.
Like, oh, I feel unsafe. Like, this guy's clearly out of it. He's wasted on drugs. Like, what's going on?
Yeah.
And here you are.
Yeah, and so my parents, God bless them, middle class, they knew I was crashing and burning. It must have scared my stepdad, calling home his Jesus.
I would imagine.
So they opened the Yellow Pages. For those of you that don't know, it was this book we all got, right? That's how we
List of phone
communicated with the
numbers.
world.
Sure.
And there's a place called Narconon,
okay.
which is a front for Scientology, but they didn't know any better. And they didn't have a whole lot of money. At the time, I knew I needed help. I mean, obviously, I'm walking thinking I'm Jesus Christ, right? And I was diagnosed with bipolar. I was dual diagnosed. Obviously, it was drugs, right? And the places that were dual diagnosed were so expensive. And at the time, you go to Salvation Army, and the Salvation Army say, yeah, we'll help him, but he's got to be sober for 7 days.
Right.
I couldn't stay sober for 7 minutes.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So my parents found this place. They paid whatever it was, and it was a front for Scientology. They only allowed L. Ron Hubbard. They put you in a sauna for 5 hours a day, gave you high doses of niacin, and you could only read Scientology stuff. So they said, out of anybody that's come in, because they give you an IQ test while you're still wasted, they said I had the highest score. And it was my first taste of sobriety for like 2 decades. And I became a sponge. I read all their stuff. Oh my gosh. This is before Twitter. Now Twitter ruined me. Like I can only read a tweet, right? Back then I didn't even think about that tonight. I used to be able to read. Twitter ruined me. My favorite story back then is because I had a 6-foot iguana.
Yes.
And after they gave us the niacin, they would walk us around Koreatown, and they would then put us in the sauna. And it was to get the niacin in through our bloods. And it made a lot of sense because you're going to sweat out the drug crystals, because they said this is why people relapse, blah, 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 blah. So I had my 6-foot iguana, and Dog was great. His name was Dog. And iguanas are great pets because they'll hang on to your shirt. Like you can go hands-free. So Dog's like on my shirt just hanging he's pretty big, right? With his head here. And there's this older Asian woman sweeping her porch.
Yeah.
And when you're in a recovery treatment center, there's not a lot of laughs. Okay? There isn't.
Not a lot going on. All
Okay.
right, cool.
So we're all walking, and I don't know what hit me. I don't know why I did this, right? But I grabbed Dog like this, and I started spinning around and started screaming. Like
Like it was attacking you.
Like the giant. And she went running into her, and I'm sure she called LAPD, right?
Yeah, yeah.
So anyways, Scientology has something called the Fundamentals of Thought, which is their Bible.
Okay.
And it's based on science. I went through their program really quick. I'm reading the Fundamentals of Thought. And there's a section about reincarnation, and there's like 5 stages of reincarnation. I asked for the laboratory experiments or the scientific, if it's based on science, there's got to be something that proves reincarnation. Okay. I wasn't trying to be difficult. I was searching. It was my first time I was a sponge, right? I was a sponge for this stuff. By the way, this podcast is probably going to be 16 episodes. Did you think about that? You were going to your mind, what did we do? We opened up a can of worms here. They did stuff like you would sit in front of a table, and there would be an ashtray, and you would like raise it with your hands and say rise, and then you would put it down, and then you do it with your mind. I kid you not, right? I kid you not. So I'm buying all this stuff, right? And I asked for the scientific experiments. I wanted, if I'm reincarnated, I want proof.
Right.
And the next morning, they kicked me and my iguana out onto Olympic Boulevard.
Lovely.
And they lied
Asking
to my
too many
parents.
questions.
And they lied to my parents. It was not until many years later, L. Ron Hubbard, there wasn't enough words in the English language. He actually created his own dictionary, and he had different meanings. So I became a suppressive person in the term of Scientology. And L. Ron Hubbard, I had a really hard time with my parents, understandably, for many, many years until I found this memo. And he wrote a memo that suppressive personalities should be taken down using any means necessary. And here I'm coming out of television, right? This high IQ, and I'm asking questions. So you asked how I got into homelessness. There's a blog post I wrote about my first day homeless.
Yeah.
Because I got dog. I loved dog at the time. I'm wearing cowboy boots at the time, which that's all I had. The house that I rented was in North Hollywood. So that's the area I knew. So I walked from Koreatown in cowboy boots all the way to North Hollywood, which my feet were so blistered. I didn't know what else to do.
Yeah.
I mean, there's no book, what should you do homeless?
Yeah.
How to survive homelessness. There isn't.
I mean, you see that often. People wonder why are people here? Why are people here on the
Right,
streets?
right.
It's where they're comfortable. It's where they know.
And the places I knew in Hollywood were lots of people. There wasn't a place to lay down. I'm thinking you need grass. I know there's grass in North Hollywood. So I'd go to these parks. It's getting now real late in the morning. I'd go to these parks and there'd be gang members or, an element that I didn't feel safe. So then I'd go walk to another one, kind of like Lancashire and Victory Boulevard. I think it was a Sears or a Kmart. There's some grass out behind an area, a park. And it was about 3 a.m. I finally lay down, and 15 minutes later, the sprinklers go off.
Awesome.
So I can think about that now and laugh.
Yeah.
I wrote it up really good in the blog post, but at the time, I realized homelessness sucks.
Yeah, I would imagine.
Yeah, so that's my...
It doesn't take a long time to figure out, probably.
No, just one laying down on the grass and sprinklers going off.
There you go.
Yeah.
Okay. So you were homeless then for how long?
I was lucky that I was only street homeless for on and off for a year. So I have lots of stories. There was a recovery center called Hollywood and Vine Recovery Center on Hollywood and Vine, a storefront, and it had a drum set in a stage, right? You could see it through the window. So I hadn't showered in a couple weeks. I got a 6-foot iguana on me. I became Lizard Man of Hollywood Boulevard. I mean, LAPD called me Lizard Man. And so I walked into this, I don't know that it's a Christian recovery center. And I walk in and I say, can I play the drums? And they said, if you get rid of that iguana, you can stay for a while. So I called a friend to take dog. And I went into this Christian recovery center. I remember laying down in the bunk bed and, like horrible, like a mattress this thin and, really springy or whatever. But after sleeping on the ground it was heaven.
Felt great.
Right. And now, I have a Tempur-Pedic and, a really nice man, and it doesn't even feel as good as that first night. It was really, really, really amazing.
Yeah.
But it turned out she was a crook. It was eventually shut down by the FBI.
Okay.
So, and
This
she
is
was
the place where you lived for like 7 years?
No, that's next.
Oh, okay.
So this is the year off and on. So,
Okay.
what Gloria used to do is, under the name of Jesus Christ, she, can get all kinds of tax savings
Sure.
and donations.
As they do.
She's also preaching Jesus was an alien.
Interesting.
So she was a doctor in psychology, and some of the things that we encountered in group therapy actually did help me. She had us line up, like she would go, I know you got a dime to call your girlfriend. You need to rabbit ear your pants and come up here and give it to the Lord. So we would all, whatever money and stand in line, because if you didn't, you're rolled up and sent back outside.
Okay.
And she farmed us out as slave labor. So every day you would go work at a warehouse or something, or we would be the audience of a TV show. That part was kind of fun because you got candy bars and there was, I swear, because you get $10 a person. So if she couldn't farm us out to a warehouse, then we would go be in the audience of whatever game show.
Yeah,
right?
Sure.
At $10 a head. So the 30 of us, she's making $300.
Sure.
Right? And every day we had chicken from Roscoe's Chicken and Waffles. Every day. And they were crazy. I mean, someday it was chicken cacciatore, chicken biscuits. They were very, very creative with the chicken. But again, back to asking questions like Scientology. We're talking about challenging the process in this.
Yeah.
And so there are obviously some things wrong with the place.
A couple,
right.
Noticeable problems.
And I would say something, and she'd kick me back out on Hollywood Boulevard.
Okay.
So I'd be homeless again. And then, I'd humble myself and go back in.
Okay.
And she'd kick me back out.
All right.
When, I would say something. Because she would make you all sign power of attorney. And just to help complete this, the County of Los Angeles paid per person $750 per homeless person first month, $650 per homeless person when they stayed. So there's 30 of us in this storefront. So she's probably making $15,000 a month just off the county. And then getting free chicken and, you know what I mean? And she would make us pay. So like when my parents would send me $20, she would take it.
Oh my gosh.
Because, you know what I mean?
Yeah.
And it was, and it shaped kind of who I am today because shelters suck. And there's many shelters that are still like this. The second time she kicked me out, I had enough sobriety in me that I swore I was going to make it. I'm going to get a job, and I'm going to get out of homelessness. Fuck this Hollywood and Vine Recovery Center. I'm going to do it. And I came down with a cold. And if you have the flu when you're living in a park with no NyQuil and no Kleenex and no bathroom, it is hell. It is really, really hell. And so I humbled myself and crawled back in. That was the third time. And I stayed there for 6 months, where I actually got 6 months of sobriety. But Gloria had a public access TV show. We've never talked about any of this?
No.
I got tons of stories like this. At any time you could stop and we could take a break and go on to episode 2. So she did a public access TV show, and in Los Angeles, that was pretty big at the time. You got a pretty big footprint because, how the population of Los Angeles. And she knew I came out of TV, so she would have me go there, and then she allowed me intern at the TV station, which I already had some experience, because she wanted me to dupe tapes for her. right? So I was able 2 days a week, 3 days a week, get out of the shelter and go to the TV station.
Yeah.
So I was able to survive 6 months there.
Yeah.
And then something happened, and I remember being in the shower, and the guy next to me goes, you know, you're getting kicked out again today. I'm like, no. And that's when I called, and that's a whole nother story, another 6 episodes. We won't go there. But that's when I called the Dream Center, and they came pick me up. And I ended up living at the Dream Center for 7 years.
Okay. Wow.
I mean, there's like one time I remember there was a friend of mine that, I'm homeless. You wonder how you survive. I had a friend that had a pickup truck with a cap. Like there's nothing in the back, right? Just, the cap that goes on the back. And so he allowed me to sleep while he went and made deliveries. So I was so tired. I mean, so I'm going around, me and Dog are just, while he's driving around Hollywood making his drug deliveries, right?
Yeah.
So, there was times like that. So I was street homeless theoretically, but there was times I was in the Hollywood and Vine Recovery Center. There was times I was on somebody's couch. There's the times I'm in back of somebody's pickup truck.
Yeah.
Right? So I didn't spend a lot of time literally sleeping on the ground. Otherwise, but there were nights. I had Phil. Phil was my drum. I still have Phil. And I would tie Dog to Phil so that I could sleep. And that way I had a little leash for Dog.
A little bit of okay, yeah. I mean, just in general, even if you didn't spend, most nights on the street, that's just a completely unstable housing
is
situation.
This podcast going in the direction you wanted?
I have no idea. Yes, I wanted a history of, what your experience is. I think that gives us a pretty good understanding of at least those early years.
Yeah. So how has the experience of hanging out with Hardly Normal on Skid Row or in supervised injection facilities or the many places that we've gone changed your views on homelessness?
Oh, I mean, I don't even know how to make a comparison or anything. I've always had kind of an empathy for it, I guess. And I remember when I moved to LA for the summer to intern. So I was driving back and forth from the lot to Pasadena, and every time I exited our ramp, there was this group of guys, men, 5 of them, really. And every time I was sitting at that stoplight, I would give them a Cliff Bar or like something that I had, right? And then I started grabbing the boxes of leftovers at the stage, I'm like, this is so wasteful. There's so much food, and like I understand liability wise, like they can't just like give it away, right? It's been sitting out all day. But I started just carrying giant boxes of food back and handing that off to them, and like the group started to grow a little bit and all this stuff. So that's kind of my like next earliest memory of kind of interacting with homeless people.
But hanging out with me for 5 years, supervised injection facility.
Yeah,
you were hanging out with people shooting up drugs.
Yeah, and that was never a thing until you. That's correct.
Right.
I hope that the content that we make and the films and stories we tell can help people understand their homeless neighbors. But I also know that you can't possibly understand until you're out there, like with them and talking to them. Because I just know how much that has shifted my perspective. Even though I don't think I would be the person that would be complaining about encampments, but just like the feeling of safety and having the perspective and understanding that these people are just humans and are just people like you, that's something I'm very grateful for the time that we've spent on the streets together. Even though early on my mother was not super pleased that I was telling her I was going to Skid Row, mother panic. But Yeah, it's been a
So
wild
the
time.
photo I took of you in the middle of the street getting the low shot didn't help.
Probably not. She's comfortable with it now. But yeah, I think it's
She's even knitting hats.
that's right.
Yeah,
Yeah.
knitting hats for you to give out to homeless
She's knitting
people.
hats. It's been a wild ride.
Yeah.
Not
stuck
just
with
what
it.
we've done, but what we
Yeah.
see out there and who we talk to, and
Yeah.
I think it's a powerful experience to go out there and talk to people.
Do you remember, because you brought up something that's so important, you remember Adam Conover said, once you come out with us, once you walk the streets with us, once you come out and talk to homeless people, you will change your mind. You will see homeless people in a different light.
Yeah.
And how I've always viewed this, and if we ever get the funding, right, and I was able to do this somewhat when I was chief marketing officer for a large nonprofit, is, and people don't understand this, the biggest impact that you are going to have is in person. So like when I speak from a stage and people can ask questions, that really is the gold, because that is where you're going to change people's minds. Social media gives you the reach,
Absolutely,
right?
yeah.
And then if you can get people to go out with a mutual aid group. So one of the values of mutual aid groups that is not talked about enough is how it is a messaging, advocacy, whatever you want to call it, changes people's paradigms. If you go out with K-Town for All or any of these mutual aid groups, wherever you live, you're going to be around other people. So you're going to feel safer,
yeah.
and you're going to meet people, and it's going to be educational. The only problem is, and I got to warn you, if you're listening to this or watching this, is you might end up going all the time. Right?
Yeah, absolutely. I think that's what we hear from a lot of people like that we've talked to who are just housed volunteers and just going out on a Saturday or whatever is. I mean, it really is. That is the best way to shift your understanding of what these people are really like, is to go out in person, for sure.
In a marketing perspective, it's actually like what you would consider the sales funnel.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
It is.
Social media is top of funnel.
Right. Invisible People is still an organization with one employee. I mean, we have contract workers such as yourself, and we have one part-time worker. But one of the things that I would love to do for the future is to be able to hire advocacy people and education people so that we could create those experiences. Like, I've built this massive audience, and now how do we help them on a path for more understanding?
Because you're a better advocate once you've been out with a group like that, when your family members talk about the encampment down the street, whenever there's, that moment of rhetoric, you are so much more capable of combating that and changing that narrative, for sure. Because you just have a stronger opinion of it. You have a live experience that you're pulling from of like, well, I talked to 10 homeless people and they were all really lovely. It's like, it just changes it, for sure.
What's your favorite documentary or video? Because we did animations.
Favorite video we've made?
Yeah.
I mean, it's hard to say because I haven't watched any of them since I sent the final version to you.
Really?
I hate watching my own work.
I'm the same way. I'm the same way. I only will go back if I need to. Like, there's a reference or I got to cut out a cup or cut out a segment.
I mean, I really like the overdose prevention centers that we worked on. I think that was just like a unique experience that you don't see content about that very often. But Helsinki for sure is also something I'm very proud of.
Well, my favorite is the next one we're doing.
Always, right?
Always. We always say that. We're doing a very transparent, real, authentic look at it, but we're showing it in the context that these are humans.
Yeah.
And this is good, right? If you're upset that people are using drugs outside and you can see them, because most people use drugs behind walls. You know, a supervised injection site gets them inside, and they're also connected to health services, including detox.
Yeah.
So that's what differentiates us from all the other content.
Actually showing the human side of it.
Yeah.
Yep. You could pretty much sum it up like that, right?
Yeah.
The work that we do, the work that you do, whether it's highly edited docs or the raw, unedited, tell your own story videos is human.
Invisible people.
It's like you put some thought into that.
Actually, you know what? Invisible people was my plan B. There was another, and I thought I wish I'd remember what it was.
Couldn't get the domain or what?
Yeah, exactly. I couldn't get the domain.
Is there an invisiblepeople.com?
There is, and he or she won't sell it to me.
Oh, rude.
And they don't do anything with it.
Yeah.
They
Which
don't
is nice for now.
Well, I occasionally I will hire a broker. Because it's the only way they have it hidden, and the brokers somehow, I mean, that's a whole racket in itself.
Yeah.
But they reach out and they, you know, I mean, it's been 15 years now.
My
The
gosh.
person won't sell it.
Well, it's a known domain that you have now anyway. So the funny thing about this episode is that, like, I mean, we've like taken road trips together. Like our California series, like we had several hours of driving. I mean, we've spent a lot of time together, and you know, lots of meals and things. And I know there are so many more stories because I have them like in my memory. There's more to tell there for sure. Yeah. But I think it's important that people understand your background and your history and where you come from. You are the person that, or you were the person that people are complaining about now. You know what that's like. Right. You know where that person's head is at, you know?
I'm stealing that.
I'm really excited for this podcast because I just know that the people in my life who know I work with you, as this news is coming out, as different bills are being passed and laws and criminalization is happening and people are finding out about it, I know people want to hear from you. And I know you're a little bit resistant to that, but you are an expert in this space. Well, you're an authority, and people care about your opinion on things. You know, we trust, you know, that you are in this for the right reasons. That you go about your life with empathy, and you have lived experience, and you're understanding so many pieces of what's going on here. And we're excited to hear more from you.
So many miracles have happened. Like, for instance, my iPhone sunk to the Ford Motor Company website for 2 years. You know, I worked with Haynes, and we shipped smartphones to 3 homeless people and had them do an Instagram stories, day in the life of a homeless person. We did a VR movie with Meta. Right? Yeah. We've done all these things. You know, we talked about YouTube giving me their homepage for a day. All those things happened and continue to happen. Many of them when we didn't even have money to hire an employee. Yeah. Right? And those continue to happen. And I don't know whether it's imposter syndrome or one thing that stays with people who were once homeless is low self-esteem. You still consider yourself, you know, as a homeless person. During one of the podcast interviews here, I was very much overwhelmed, like, oh my gosh, I'm talking to somebody. I mean, even though the person was a friend, I'm like, wow, this person is in this position and we're here, and the moment of time just overwhelmed me. Yeah. So what's interesting is you don't know what the future of Invisible People is going to be, and I know it's going to be huge.